Hi friends, today I'm doing the review for the book, this book, Unfolding by Rahul Singh. So let us first get into the story. So this is a queer love story. It's a story of Ralph and Ojas. Um, so Ralph is a chef, came from his mother, but since his mother was a very good cook while she was there, so he developed that passion from his childhood, from his mother. So his mother passed away a few years back, like when the story starts. At the time, in the first page itself, we get to know that his mother passed away due to cancer. And Ralph actually he lives alone. I mean, though his father also stays in the same city, he doesn't stay with his father for certain reasons. And Ralph is like very upset and really feeling lonely because he always misses his mother. He has been very near to his mother all through their lives, and then recently, like few months back, he met Ojas. So Ojas actually lives with his family. He is from like a business family. Um, who just has a younger brother, but a brother who is like many years younger than him, almost I think 15 or 16 years younger than him. He also has his parents. He lives with them, and he also works. He runs his own business. It's more like a business that he sort of inherited from his family. It's a family business that he runs. Ralph is a chef at a big hotel, at a star hotel. During one of the conferences where Ojas was, he was more like attending, or more like he was hosting a conference in Ralph's hotel, like in the hotel where Ralph worked as a chef. That's when they both met, because Ralph is like extraordinary chef. He's very good at whatever he cooks, especially the dessert items. So this is a brief background about Ralph and Ojas. After that meeting, it's been like they have been sort of instantly attracted to each other, and they both started they both got into a relationship. And Ojas often he used to uh, come over to Ralph's house, because Ralph stayed alone, right? So Ojas always visited Ralph, and he sort of stayed over there, like like any other couple, used to stay over in Ralph's place. Um, there is also one best friend that Ralph has. So see, there are very less number of characters overall in the book. So there is this one more character, Sujoy, who is a childhood friend of Ralph. So they both grew up together from their childhood, and Sujoy always used to sort of visit Ralph from his childhood, and even when Ralph's mother was around. And so they just I can't say it's like probably Sujoy is Ralph's best friend, but then they share a very different sort of relationship. Can't say it's like a typical best friends, but yeah, I think Sujoy is like one person who is the only other person with whom Ralph shared about his life, everything about his life. And Sujoy is also sort of a person who looked out for Ralph, but then sometimes that got a little complicated, especially when it came to Ojas. And the complicated relationship that Ralph and Ojas, whatever is the relationship, after a point it turns complicated. That's when Sujoy also sort of gets pulled into it. Now these are like the main characters, you would think, but then there is a very interesting thing in the story. There is Zubina, who is the person who works at Ralph's place as a cook and as a house help. So there is a parallel story of Zubina. Her husband, and then her two daughters, Amrin and Sonia. And then after a point, it just felt for me that probably Ralph and Oja's story, though it's the queer's love story, it is the one that is supposed to sort of uh, pull the reader more into it. But then somehow I personally, got attracted more to Zubina's family story. So Zubina lived in a nearby slum. Okay, see the whole story is set up in Kolkata, and Kolkata actually plays like a major role in the whole story. The book is also like divided into like three parts. It's more like two parts which have like most of the story going on. So there is this first part which is like summer 2019, and later on you would see it moves to autumn 2019. Um, so there is this autumn 2019 signifying that how the first part, like how the story progresses, how all these relationships change over time, and how it's synonymous to their the how the weather is changing, the seasons are changing, and how the life of all these characters is also changing, and how it ends. It is a late autumn 2019. So along with all these timelines, the story backdrop of Kolkata also helps. It actually plays like one more character in the story, and it's not just the city in which the story is set. In the first part, we will see Zubina's life around, while she was, doing this Ramzan fasting, and then, when they celebrate the festival with her family. And then in the second part, there is the Durga Puja thing. Okay. And then in the last part, of course, last part is like just a very few pages, but that is more of a conclusion. Like by the time uh, the season changed to late autumn, how the life of all these characters changed. So coming back to Zubina, so first we'll only know about her, Zubina, the all the houses in which she works, and what her husband does. He works in a nearby leather factory, and then what are her daughters studying in, what is their daily habits, and their sort of life that goes on around. But then slowly we also get to know about, a lot more about Zubina's background, her earlier life, her elder sister Zinat, and then her younger brother Tausik, and how their lives also sort of, influence her decisions or her life. We'll know towards the second half of the story. So this is how it is. Like we have, all these. See, it's not even like separated. It's more like the story involves all these characters, but you can look at them as like two different parallel stories, very much intermixed. Ralph and Oja's story, and Subina and her family story. And there is also the contrast that though Zubina doesn't express it explicitly, or even Ralph and Ojas, they don't sort of say that explicitly, but what we see is that Ralph and Ojas, they are rich, they have some good careers, they have a place to stay, they have in fact they are very financially well settled. But then when it comes to relationship, they are unhappy with their family, or with their being a gay couple, and how their sexuality comes in the way of they're trying to find a relationship, or they seem to be like uh, they seem to struggle with in their relationship, though they are financially very happy. At the same time, we see that Zubina and her family, they are financially not, of course, so well settled. They are obviously living in a slum. They have a house, though Zubina's husband owns the house, but then that is always it has leakage issues, and whenever there is a heavy rain, it is like completely drowned, and they are just struggling on most days. But then Zubina and her husband, they seem to have a very nice relationship, though they had like a arranged marriage, a very typical arranged marriage. And it's also sort of the story in parallel showcases that looking at the sort of love that Ralph and Ojas have, Zubina starts questioning her own marriage, her own relationship with her husband, like is it really as passionate as Ralph and Ojas have? But probably at some point she doesn't realize that Ralph and Ojas, they are struggling with their own insecurities, or their own relationship. But then as a third person, Zubina finds that as passionate, and somewhere she keeps on comparing her relationship, and she is like always thinking, is what she has with her husband, is that enough or not? So it's a very interesting take. I think that is something I have also personally observed, that people who are like not financially that well settled, they're always looking at their people where they work for, their employers, and they always think that financial safety or security, I mean, of course, to each their own, and we can't just deny either aspects of that. But then that is a very interesting thing that the author has very sensitively showcased, through a comparison of all these characters. Okay, that someone may have a financial security, or they are very rich and very well settled, but then that doesn't really mean they are happy, or they have a happy relationship. And then someone who is like probably who is living in a slum may have a better relationship, may have a better communication going on, and they are probably not as insecure as the rich people for whom they are working. And again, towards the second half, the author sort of explores this using Zubina's sister, like what I mean, how Zubina looked at her life, her poverty, or her relationships, while her sister Zeenat, how did she look at this? So even like siblings from the same background, from the same financial background, from the same family, how they decide on their future. It's very interesting. But so this is also like the author's debut novel. Which you will not believe that it's a debut novel, given the sort of fineness with which the author has written. I mean, the prose is like it's fantastic. It also shows a difference between the sort of language Ralph and Ojas use, or Sujay uses, and the sort of language, and the life about Zubina's life. Okay, the contrast is there. Even the writing style actually sort of contrasts that. But I think the main USP of the book is the rawness that the author leaves. A lot of scenes just hit you. Will hit the reader like. Okay, I didn't expect anyone to write it like this, anyone to portray emotions like this. So there is just no filter, there's just no sugarcoating. The author writes it with such rawness, with such honesty, that the reader will be like, I personally took a lot of time in each of these sections, just trying to make sense of it. Like a lot of times we don't know what a person is going through, what is his family background, what his past is, and maybe because of whatever is their past trauma or family experiences, the sort of person they become, the sort of decisions they make, which is exactly is what you'll see with Ralph and Ojas, that they may be well settled career wise, they may be rich, but probably their families are not really that supporting for their decisions, or for their emotions, or for their the way they want to live their lives. so that is like, one important angle. Then you'll look at Zubina, and how her daughters have never ever watched, for example, they never watched a movie in theater, so they only know how a movie, a show looks in TV, but then how, what is going to be a theater experience, watching a movie in theater. That is something the girls, Zubina's daughters are just craving, and for them it's just a big deal to even, think of watching one movie in a theater. So it just contrasts, like, a lot of things that we sort of take for granted, new clothes, or a lot of things. So the author showcases so many things that, a lot of us take for granted on a daily basis, but then for some other people, probably in our same society, because of their financial background, that is just such a big deal. Just watching one movie ever in theater is like, it's like, celebration of a lifetime sort of. So there are so many such very minute details about family, about emotions, about the financial background you come from, and especially what romance means in arranged marriages, what romance means when two people are actually in a relationship, and what someone else perceives it, right? Like, what Zubina perceives romance from Ralph and Oja's perspective, but what she perceives her own marriage to be, what her kids perceive, what her kids think, about their future, or Zubina has a different thinking about, her life, but then her kids, though they are brought up in the same family, they have a different sort of mindset. So this is like something we always see, in our day-to-day life, but then the way the author writes it, it's really like, it's really written very very well, and the more you read, the more you will just keep on introspecting, and then at some point you'll think like, what, do I have in my life, what am I grateful for, what am I looking forward to in my life, and probably you can actually look at an outsider perspective of your own life. So overall, for a debut, it definitely doesn't look like a debut. That author has done like a extremely good job there. But then the only complaint, or only thing that you would need is, it's a literary fiction book. Not, though not as, see, the moment we say literary fiction, it sounds a bit boring and all. No, it's not like that. But then it has, the author covers so many wide variety of emotions that you'll need to take the time to sort of, engross in that and try to relish it. Only then you will get the complete picture. It's nowhere slow or nowhere boring, just that, the author covers like so many aspects of all these characters, right, their life, and over a time also, like, author keeps going back in time and telling the reader that, the other experiences they had, and how it changed them. So there is like, in between, a little back and forth, going back in time and telling that, how these characters were like maybe 5 years back, 10 years back, or what they experienced in their younger years, and that's how, the reader will know more about these characters. So it's more like a journey. It's not like, okay, this is the story, this is the end game, and this is how this relationship will end. Will it be a happy ending, will it be a tragedy? No, it's not really about the ending. Only after you read it, you will understand that it's more about how all these characters go through their life, and in between how Kolkata plays a role, like, it's like a silent, one more character, extra character, be it the rains, be it how Eid is celebrated, how Durga Puja is celebrated, or how the whole culture is in Kolkata, the humid days, the rainy days. It's that sort of a thing that, it's an overall experience, I would say, reading this book. But I really liked it for, the way the author brought out all these, perspectives and then personalities of these characters. I would say, yeah, definitely read it. I'm sure you will also enjoy it.